on this week's Rockstar Superhero. I say this more than I'd like to admit, but this time I'm 100% positive that UK-based trap metal band Swarm6ix is new, inspiring, and confrontational. Lead singer Ben Fordham is a quiet and complex man, and I'm beyond thrilled he's my guest today. So enjoy this conversation with this fantastic human. This is Rockstar Superhero. I'm in love with your band. I feel like you are one of the next big things, which is why you're here today. And I just want to warmly welcome you and ask you to tell me, what is trap metal? I'm tired of reading about it. I've done my research. I know what I think it is, but I would love your definition, and then we'll burn in from there.
I honestly wish I knew. I think it's just bringing a lot of elements of, the kind of like the trap rap, and just I think it's kind of like, I don't know, a new wave of kind of like just rap metal, like, to me. I mean, trap's got so many different elements to it, but it's those kind of like those beats. But for us, it's just bringing those elements in and just bringing it into the metal scene and making it a bit more interesting.
Yeah. I think it seems like it's a way to escape the negative way people associate nu metal with the past, right? The idea that if you're lumped into the nu metal genre, all of a sudden people think of you as Limp Bizkit or Korn, which of course had some great material, but there's a negative feeling about that time in music history for some reason. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, because we put something on TikTok a little while back, and we got a really weird divide. A lot of people are like, well, this isn't nu metal. Like, what the hell is this? And it's just like, we're not that nu metal. We're kind of like, we've got vibes of that, like, and it's now sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I think you're always going to get that. It can't be helped.
Yeah, I think fans really, really want to be able to put you in a box because it's safe for them, right?
Yeah, I get that.
So you were up super late, you told me before we started rolling. Tortured life of a upcoming rock star.
I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
It was fun. No, it was a good weekend. And like every night we were just kind of like out, love with the fans, and just kind of like having a couple of drinks and just like mellowing out with everyone. And it was just a good vibe, like generally, like the whole weekend. We played with a band called Overthrown, and they were wicked, like gelled with them really well. And it just, it's just like, it's so nice when you get to meet some people and you just like, you gel straight away. Like it wasn't uncomfortable. Like everyone was just like having fun. It was just like free flowing. Like that was good.
Yeah. Have you been doing tons and tons of press for this new single?
That's kind of like out of our hands now. Like because with this new label, they're kind of doing everything for us. Although we're still doing certain elements and pushing stuff ourselves. The press is called like all of our like manager and the labels kind of sorting all that out. But I mean, they're doing a lot. They're sending us bits and bobs and saying like, oh, we've done this. You're on this playlist. You're like, we just got like a booking agent as well through the label. So that's exciting. And that's all in talks. And it's just, it's all happening like thick and fast, really.
Well, that's the way you want it, though. I mean, that's the whole point, is to be on that cutting edge of excitement, right? That's why we're in the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you found that the band is starting to take off here in the States? I feel like I'm very fortunate to be one of those sort of early adopters to the sound of your band.
I haven't really been too aware of like who's been listening to our stuff, really. Like, obviously, because we're trying to build like the UK base, but and Europe. But I think wherever we've been listening to, obviously, like I appreciate wherever it's going. But I've never really like thought about where it's pinpointed, whether America's listening to us or who's listening to us the most. Yeah, maybe I probably should find that out. Just but see where our fan base is. But I'm just one of those sort of people. Like I kind of like turn up, do what I got to do. Like I love writing music, and I kind of like I leave that for everyone else, kind of thing.
No, you're a pro. It's clear. I think the thing that drew me the most to the band. Look, I love the music. I'm a former professional drummer. That's a huge part of my life. It's actually something I Yeah. I kind of miss doing what you're doing, but once you lose your hair, it's all downhill. But here, I want to say this, and it's really important to me. I'm drawn to your lyrics, and I need you to understand something.
Okay.
I do not ever, and every one of my friends, every one of my thousands of listeners says the same thing. I do not care ever about lyrics, ever, Ben, ever. And your lyrics hit me right in the gut. And I think part of it is the style of the music, right? The music is intense. But there's a bite to the delivery of the lyrics. Does that make sense?
I think when I sit down and I write lyrically, I never really have anything like specific in my mind of how I'm gonna come up with something. I sit down and I might be in like, I don't know, something might have happened that day. I might be in a bad mood, or like I might be, I'm down, or or I'm up, or like, whatever. And sort of like I start writing, and whatever comes naturally to me just kind of like will just come out.
Good.
And I think it does show with like how I write, and my lyrics, like they are quite like they're personal to me, and I think they're quite relatable. I think like the more I write as well, the more like I come up with kind of like a story. Like Death Script that we released, like we wrote like loads of demos, and we picked like a fragment of the demo to kind of like make the song. So like where we worked off like a section and then like kind of pushed it further, and didn't use like hardly any of it, to be honest. Like, and then when we came around to doing it, I was just like, everyone's been bullied, everyone's been like, or like been a part of that kind of thing. And when I was writing it, like it was like quite personal to me, but like how nice would it be to just snap back at that person and just like to get your own back.
Yeah.
So when I started writing that, like it was, as I say, it was quite personal. And then the more I kind of wrote, I was like, oh, okay, well, I can go this direction, and kind of like, this is how I want the story to be. As a songwriter and a lyricist, like that's kind of like how it pans out. I kind of like have something in my mind, and just write kind of like free flowing, but then I create a story like afterwards.
Do you feel then that you're fighting against something in this world? Meaning, I've noticed, and I'm not trying to weave myself into your story here, but the older I get, the more angry I get. I don't know how else to put it. I'm a surprisingly angry old man. I am not a depressed old man. I am a pissed off old man.
Okay.
And so there's that joke, you see in movies, the whole get off my lawn approach, right? The old guy who lives down the road, who hates what the young kids listen to and the cars they drive and that whole thing. But I don't recall feeling like that when I was your age, to be fair. And I'm wondering, because maybe that's why I'm so attracted to the sound, is you are putting out what I wish I had said. You know what I mean? So do you feel like you're fighting against society? Is it fighting against bullying?
Good question. I don't think I can really like pinpoint it, but it's, I mean, I've always suffered from like anxiety, always suffered from like kind of like being in my own skin. I'm covered in tattoos. Like, so I go out and like people stare and like, and sort of like, and I'm just like, the older I've got, the more I don't really give a shit about it anymore.
Right,
right.
I mean?
Like, I'm just kind of like, fuck you. Like, if you've got a problem with me, like that's your problem. But sometimes that happens, and then you're kind of like, damn, like I'm still a human being. You don't need to speak to me that way or like be that person. Like I'm a good person. Like I would never do that to anyone else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would never speak to someone and be like, what the fuck? Why do you look like that?
Right.
Or, what have you done to yourself? Like, it's just kind of like, hang on. Like,
right. Why do you hate yourself so much?
Like, live and let live. Like, come on. Right. Like, we're all going through shit. We're all like, we're all human. I think that's kind of like me. Like when I do write stuff like that, I kind of like, that's when it kind of like hits at me. Like, I wrote Social Suicide because I went to a pub one day and someone was just giving me loads of jip. And I'm not the sort of person that's going to like snap back and be like, fuck you. Like, I'm going to punch you in the head. Cause like, that's not me. And that's not like my mentality at all.
Right.
But then when I started writing Social Suicide, like the whole song is about going out and trying to enjoy your night and just having fun. And then just there's always one person or a group of people that just has to ruin it for everyone else.
Go out and I'm getting fucked. Both my fists are loaded, guns are cocked, I'm ready to pop. Looking for a fight, it's fight night. When I fly high, I fly right. Zombie motherfuckers living off that nightlife. Zombie motherfuckers living off that nightlife. How is that any way to live?
I mean, I hate people.
I'm laughing with you, not against it. You know what I mean? But I totally get your take, man. But yeah, keep going.
Like I find it hard to connect with certain people, but like, some people are just assholes. And I think maybe that's like most of my music comes from like situations, and I'm just like, to me, it's like a big fuck you to those people, to those like, degenerate, just piss artists. It's like even like Lipstick, like the new song we just released. It's kind of like about. Piece. Thank you. It's just about people being not who they perceive that they are, or that you perceive that they are. Like it's just they're like, oh, I'm this, like I'm an angel sort of thing, and then you find out they're completely not. There's something like the worst sort of person ever. Which same again, it happens, and you just kind of got to deal with it. Like it's life.
It's a conundrum, man. The older we get, the more we realize, and I've noticed this a lot myself, is everybody's got static, There's so much heartache in the world, and I don't want to get too foofy here. The reality is that guy you write a song about that you can't stand, that you met, that's judging you. I'm not saying he's having a bad day and you should give him a break, because some of those guys, that's just who they are. But I have thought a lot about this recently, because I realized that if I'm having a bad day, for example, I had an extraordinarily awful day yesterday. The worst kind of day. And then I came home and I kind of, to be really, really transparent, I kind of threw my family under the bus. I was pretty mean to my wife, and I was pretty rough on my kids. And the reality is like you, I would like to think of myself as a decent fella. And I often think about what would people think if they only saw this version of me, that they never saw the guy who cared, who loved, who laughed, who enjoyed, who sat behind his drums and closed his eyes and just fell in love with what was being fed to my spirit. And I use this as a preface to say the main thing I got drawn to wasn't just the lyrics. The lyrics were the gateway to what you are saying to your audience and to me. What I felt was you coming forward and stepping like into the room. I don't know how to explain it, but I've often said that our insides, our spirit precedes us. Like if you were to walk into this room right now today, right into this room, I would know with my heart that Ben is this great guy. And I'm experiencing it through video. It's not just what you're saying to me, but I know you're tender-hearted. I know this sounds really cheesy, but I know you, Ben, are tender-hearted. And you use your lyrics and you use that music as a way as catharsis, to reach out and to sort of destroy and to pummel the things that you loathe in this world. And that's fair and that's perfect, because you're not taking it out on your family when you come home. I know, without having never met you until today, that you, my friend, are a genuine good man who just looks different because he wants to be him. He's living in himself. You are in your skin. And I just honor that, man. I think you're badass.
Appreciate that, man.
You mentioned anxiety. Mm-hmm. And a huge part, the cornerstone of this show, is really about the story behind each of our mental health. It's really actually not about music. The idea of you being this superhero, this person that's hidden inside of the Rockstar, if that makes sense. And I'm curious, how do you manage your anxiety? How do you manage your mental health when, this world is full of insane behavior, people around you, people saying stuff to you, people judging you? How do you manage the best parts of yourself?
I think I'm lucky to have a very loving family, a very close-knit friend group of people that understand me. I think it's taken a long time for me to kind of speak out to my friends as well. Like, I mean, my band are like my family as well, obviously.
Yeah.
And like me and Dan have known each other for years, and it's only been kind of like in the past couple of years that me and him have actually started speaking about like our mental health and just kind of like, oh, I'm feeling like this way. And we're like, oh, sorry that you're feeling like that. Like, but even just saying how you're feeling is such a relief and such a weight off your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're feeling a bit kind of like, oh, I don't feel right now, or like you feel a bit like panicky, or kind of like, you know, you're not right in your own skin at that moment. Just letting someone know that's how you're feeling helps so much. Like it really has over the years. Like I mean, it's so fucking important to speak about your mental health. Enough people don't. Like, I mean, even now, like, you know, this girlfriend of mine, Sky, like I've only kind of like started saying stuff to her, but I've only been with her for like 6 months, but she's so open and I'm so open with her as well. And it makes things so much easier. You know, sort of like you're having a bad day and you're just kind of like, this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, but if you don't talk, like it's going to eat at you.
Yeah.
It's going to eat away at you and you're going to think that that's just okay. And it's not. You shouldn't have to feel like that on your own.
Yeah.
Like you definitely shouldn't.
Yeah. Avoidance is going to kill any relationship. It's all about communication, whatever, right? Whether it's a girlfriend, a marriage, your buddy in your band, you know, some kid you met down the street. It's all about actually having the difficult conversation, which of course I understand why most people don't want to have it, because you have to out yourself. You have to say, hey, I kind of got an issue here.
You got the knife to my neck and I blame the pressure. Just advantage to this game, but your mind was that's a gift from the gods, but I definitely never trying to feel line between pain and pleasure. How many hard truths can my mind undertake? I try to run away, but I swear it's too late. I get up the courage, but my mind dissipates. I'm wasting a life for fuck's sake.
I think it's sad that people would necessarily judge you, for example, based on your appearance, right? Based on your piercings or your tattoos or just your general demeanor. People are going to make assumptions, and it's unfair. Of course, we know this is the way the world goes, but you know, it's too bad we can't just embrace everybody regardless of anything, just because they are a human trying to get by and figuring this world out. And God dang, it's hard enough for, you know, I mean, it's hard for everybody, man. Nobody, the richest guy in the world, I'm sorry, but the richest guy in the world, the happiest guy in the world, they're all in the same spot. They're just trying to get through.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting back on track here. You know, you mentioned family a little while ago. One of the things people would assume about you is because you look so different and your style of music, your approach to life is so different. They would assume you have somehow a broken family, a messed up family, something that's disabled you, and they'd be wrong. When did music become the magic that saved you?
It's quite, I mean, I've always kind of done singing and stuff when I was like quite young. I was in a choir. Don't think a lot of people probably know. And then, I don't know, kind of like grew up and just like started going out and enjoying myself. And I think got into the wrong crowds and started doing things I shouldn't be doing.
Sure. We all do it.
Yeah. I was always an energetic kid. I was always kind of like, just like, probably mum and dad was like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Well-meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like one day they were just kind of like, right, what do you want for your birthday? Like, and then they said, do you want a scooter or a guitar? And I was just kind of like, yeah, guitar, I guess. Why not? And then didn't look back since, you know, I started having lessons, and it kind of took me away from being a little shit, because I was, you know, I had something to keep me occupied. Like,
yeah, focus your energy.
Yeah, and went to college, studied music, and then kind of like met bands, and then kind of like went off that way. And yeah, I still had some trouble along the way, but I think just more self-indulgence really, that kind of was like my own fault, that I kind of was in certain positions with certain people, not until I started growing up and I was like, why am I doing all this shit? Need to grow up.
Yeah.
And now I'm 32, I still haven't grown up. And
you won't. Trust me, you never will. You never will, buddy. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. I'm still 19. I just don't look 19.
I feel about 10 in the brain.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's how it works. I don't know why we all, of course, we all get old and sort of seemingly disgusting, but the reality is our minds are still fresh and young and capable and ready for what's next. You know, the thing I say, I guess, to a lot of bands is enjoy this moment because it will change. It's not that it'll go away. It'll just alter. And it is very hard, to be fair. It is very hard to take a band seriously when they're playing the style of music you play, for example, when you're 60 years old. It's going to feel like you've gone from legit to somehow weird old posers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I do appreciate that.
Yeah. So here you are, the conundrum, man. You're the perfect example of a person that nobody would necessarily understand based on first impressions because you're radically different as a human being. You look much different, quote unquote, than you sound. It's all the stereotypes of assumption. And I think the beauty of discovering a band like yours, and then even the better aspect of meeting somebody like you right now, I'm reminded that the world is a good place and that there are amazing people and that they're doing provocative things, and provocative is okay. It doesn't mean you're anything bad. It just means you're trying out something new and you're pushing things forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I really, really dig it. With the band releasing a new single, do you have a new album coming out soon? Is there some, because again, I came from a generation where you picked your best 12 songs, you stuck them on an album, and you hoped that there was a cohesive story that those 12 songs told. Yeah. Roughly 50, 60 minutes of music. Do you have that sort of thing in the future, or is the band just writing singles? What's your process?
So we wrote 8 singles. We didn't have in mind whether it was going to be an album or singles. We just kind of wrote 8 tracks, and we were just kind of like, look, right, whatever happens, happens. And then we got a guy called Jordan that released our first couple of tracks with us. Then we got James on board, and he was just kind of like, keep releasing the songs, get more interest, and just keep doing things. And then we got the label on board, which was sick. I mean, without James, that wouldn't have happened. Right. I mean, well, who knows? But I mean,
or as fast.
We've done a lot. Yeah. So we wrote 8 tracks, and then the label took us on, we got a few tracks left to release, and then we're currently writing an album. So that will be our next step. It'll be to write the album and release the album.
That's so great. The thing that I like about the band, the evolution of the band, is that the music seems to be coming from the same source. And I say that because, again, going back to the old days when bands wrote 12 songs and put them on a record, there was an attempt at cohesion. Nowadays, bands are told the new process is write a single, put it out, sort of see where it takes you, get your label, get your management, get your teams in place so then they can take the next thing you do and do it again and keep building those bricks. But I listen to all of your material and I see a band that sounds today the same as it sounded before. And I mean that in the best way, because the things that make the band so intriguing have always been there. And I think that is hugely important. And I think that's the difference why you're set apart. I think that's why you will be successful, because you're not test driving ideas, Ben. You are already fully formed.
Oh, appreciate that.
If I may, I want to ask one last question. If you could completely expose yourself, and I mean, you pretty much have already for me, but what's that secret desire you have for your future?
I'm traveling at the moment and kind of like doing that sort of thing and kind of like going on these holidays, and I'm going to Japan this year, which I'm stoked for. And I'd love to go to America as well. Like I've never been, and like a dream would be to tour America. I mean, that would be unreal. I need to settle down, to eventually have a house and kids. Like that would be, like just have someone to share the rest of my life with. Do you know what I mean?
I love what a non-complex answer that is. It just goes to show you that when you really break it down, we all kind of want the same thing. We want to be admired and loved and held up and supported and appreciated. And as musicians, we need to be heard. I genuinely like you as a person, and I'm very fortunate in this position to meet so many people. What I love about you is you are actually incredibly transparent. You're incredibly inspiring, and you've spilled some of your personal joy into my world today. And to be frank, after the last 24 hours of my own life, I needed that myself. So I am so grateful for you. And I want to say thank you to you because the band deserves it. You deserve it. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
Appreciate it, man.